My next guest is 100K richer. Why? Because he put on a hell of a performance against Steven Peterson. UFC Fight Night, February 5th. It's Juicy J, Julian Erosa, back here on the program. Julian, how are you, sir?
Oh man, I'm fantastic. Thanks for having me on again, James.
Of course. I mentioned it off the top there. 100K richer. How you feeling, man?
Man, life's a trip, brother. It's been a journey, man. About a year and a half ago, maybe a tad bit longer than a year and a half ago, I fought Sean Woodson, got a bonus in that fight, and ever since then, it's been unreal. I went from 0-3 in the UFC. We actually moved to a small apartment to save money because we figured I didn't know when my next fight paycheck was going to be. My wife was working, but we wanted to save some money so we could, further ourselves financially. But literally right after we did that, I got the Sean Woodson fight, and it's been uphill ever since. So it's been really nice and smooth sailing. So I feel really good where I'm at, and hopefully to keep the train going.
What are you going to do with the money? You got to ask. That's a lot of money to take in, man.
Yeah, yeah, it's definitely a lot of money. I think me and my wife, first off, we're gonna just we're out of debt already. When I got the Sean Woodson fight, we paid everything off, even our cars that we had. So we really only have cost of living now, and so we can save a lot of our money. And I think we're gonna, we're kind of debating on what we want to do because we live in an apartment. We don't know, maybe possibly think about getting a condo. Or trying to do investing in some sort of way. I'm not super smart about that. Either is my wife, or not necessarily smart about it. Just we just haven't done it. So
Yeah, you need the right people around you, to like steer you in that right direction. Your manager's actually pretty good at that stuff, right? So I'm sure you and Jason will be sitting down and chatting about that, right?
yeah. Jason's the man, and he's I mean, shoot, he's a lawyer,
Yeah.
so the guy, he's pretty smart with this kind of stuff. So I think for right now, just I'm never gonna plan on spending any of my money on frivolous things. Like you're not gonna see me in a fucking Camaro or whatever. We drive like a Camry, a 2018 Camry, and a 2010 Corolla. So we'll probably have those until they break down. But I'm not one of those guys that throws money away on frivolous things. So you don't got to worry about none of that.
So the reason you got such a big bonus, aside from the fact that the fight was amazing, was that Peterson missed weight. Were you surprised by that only because he missed weight in his last fight too?
Best 3 pounds of my life, baby. No, well, there's kind of some backstory behind all that situation. So when I found out I had the Peterson fight, we kind of been jabbing each other back and forth on Instagram and in our DMs and stuff. But he hadn't really responded to me at first for a long time. And about 6 weeks before this fight, he was eating a food prep meal, and I had just watched the Hooper fight. Didn't even know he missed weight for that fight. Was watching the fight. I was watching all of his fights. I wanted to be on top of every little mannerism, movement, technique he likes to use leading up to this fight. So watching all of his fights multiple times and seeing the Hooper fight, he missed weight. I was like, oh, this motherfucker missed weight last fight. What the hell? And then I seen him he was eating a food prep meal on his Instagram, and so I commented on his story and I said, just show up and make weight, bro, and don't miss it like you did last time. And he hadn't responded to like 7 things I had DM'd him on. And finally he said, oh, you sure like to talk shit, bro. And I was all like, yeah, man. I was like, you're a fucking cheater. Like, you missed weight last time. And then he kind of, there was a cheap shot sort of in the Cooper fight in the third round. Then went to touch gloves. And I think it was just more of his adrenaline going, but he started swinging on him right when he touched gloves. And so I thought that was a bit cheap. And so I told him about that about 6 weeks before the fight. And, I told my wife, and I was like, I told her what I told him, and I was like, that'd be crazy if you didn't show up and make weight. And she's all like, there's no way he can't show up and make weight after you fucking say some shit on the like direct messaged him about his weight from last fight, and then sure enough, he shows up missing weight and being the only person missing weight. And I was upset at the time, but I tell you right now, I'm happy about him not making weight because it worked in my benefit to the fullest.
Let's talk about the fight itself. What a brawl that was, man. That was amazing. What was the game plan going in there? Because one of the things that obviously people knew going in was you had a pretty good height and reach advantage in the matchup.
Yeah, I think the best way to summarize the game plan is the first round. If you watch the first round of me and Peterson, I think it goes perfectly to game plan. After the first round, I was cool, calm, and collected. I felt like I was quicker off the jump than he was. I felt like I was cleaner in my technique. I was pressuring him. He was busted up. I think maybe broke his nose in the first round, so he had blood spewing out of his face. I obviously won that first round, and I felt like everything was going good. But there's a saying my coaches like to say, and it's sometimes a fight breaks out in an MMA fight. So in the second round, about halfway through, or not even halfway through, I think a minute or two in, a fight broke out, and that's one of my best. That's one of my best assets is being able to just to answer that with a fight of my own, and I think that's what happened. And I think about the first half of the fight was technical and a bit up to par on my game planning, but the second half of the fight was just kind of thrown away into a fight, and my coaches, said it pretty good to me later on. Was like, well, we were trying to instruct you at first, and then it got to the point where we're just trying to encourage you. It's not like instructing you at that point is just, it's almost detrimental. I know they know that once I get to a certain point that there's really no instructing. It's just more of encouraging. And so, after the fight broke out, they just trying to encourage me to stay in the fight and get the better ends of it. And I think I was able to do that. And in between the second and third round, they were telling me I should get a takedown or at least go for it. And I think Peterson wasn't expecting it at all, and so I was able to get him down a couple times. And I think that's what solidified the last round for me.
Was there anything that surprised you in this fight?
Peterson's ability to look like he was done and broken and completely gassed out to coming back strong. And it was like, in between the first and second round, both my coaches thought Peterson was done. Like, it was a matter of time. It was inevitable that I was going to finish him in the second round. And then my coach was like, it was crazy. Like, he went from being completely exhausted, beat up, to fucking not tired anymore. And then he was fighting back. And I heard later on that his coach was telling him in between rounds that kid's just as psycho as you are, bro. You gotta put the pace on him. So just the fact that his coach was saying that leads me to believe that Peterson's like me, and that tough and durable and that persistence. I mean, skill sets and everything else is kind of different, but I think with just being tough and durable and willingness to fight, I think me and him share that.
So it goes to the judges' scorecards. You're getting a little bit worried when they read, one judge reads that he won the fight. What was going through your head at that point?
Yeah, like back in the day, it used to be they'd always read the winner first. Like if it was a split decision like that, they'd be like Julian Peterson wins. And so like it's a bit it's a bit frustrating when you hear that. You hear Peterson's name first, but I knew in my head, I'm like, they stopped doing that because people started catching on, so they do it random now. So I knew just on my coach's faces and what they were saying, and on Peterson's face and his coach and what they were saying, it just felt like we all understood I won the fight at that point. And so I was really confident that I was going to get the nod in that sense. But there's a lot of times when you're watching fights and you're like, no way that guy won that fight. It can be suspect with these judges. And that's why I always tell people I'm never worried. I'm never going round by round in my head. It's just I'm trying to finish the entire time. And that was, I was, there was no lack of trying finishing that fight. And so just his toughness got us to the scorecards. And it was a little bit discouraging hearing his name first, but I still believed and I was optimistic that I was going to win that fight. And they ended up giving it to me, which I think it was deserved. And, obviously I'm just happy that they got it right.
Everyone was talking about that fight on Saturday. Like we even had a lot of other good performances on that card, but your fight was one that really stood out. What's been the feedback from the fans since that fight? Because that was an all-time classic.
Yeah, man, it's been positive. It's one of those things that, and it's one of the fights that happens that I'm going to be more proud of than, if I ever got a title shot or if I ever did, whatever it was. Obviously, if I fight another type like that, where it's like that, then I'll probably be more proud of it. But that fight is one of those fights that I'm going to always be proud of, and it's always going to stay in my mind for the rest of my life because I get more satisfaction out of people reaching out to me about those types of fights than I would for winning a belt or doing anything else. I love when people can acknowledge, and especially when other fighters can acknowledge the heart, the grittiness, the toughness, the determination, like all the stuff that really makes us what we are. Winning a belt is one thing, but all those layers of things that we are, the toughness, the durability, our persistence. It's easy to give up, especially when someone's punching you in the face. And there was a couple of times where he had me in in a shaky spot, and I was able to overcome that and really push forward and show my perseverance, and that's what I'm more proud of.
Are you two cool? You and Peterson? I don't know. Did you talk to him after the fight? I know there was like, you're kind of just joking around, but like what's the latest? Have you spoken to him at all?
Yeah, we're cool now, and it's funny because my coach was like beforehand, he's all like, "Man, you'll like Peterson after you fight him," because all my opponents I'm cool with now. Like I'm rooting for all my opponents to go do really well. And so, but I told my coach, I was like, "Nah, man, I don't think so. I think Peterson's one of those guys I'm just not gonna like." And then, directly after the first round, I looked over at him, and I wasn't gonna touch his gloves ever. I told myself, watch the Hooper fight. Seemed like he liked to be a little cheap shot-ish, and I didn't want to fucking even deal with that. But I remember in between the first and second round, I looked over at him, and I've said it before, where like you don't have to say anything,
Yeah.
you just understand what's going on, and I understood that he understood that I understood that we both earned each other's respect even in that first round. So I was willing to touch gloves with him at that point, and we did, and I think there was that little bit of understanding, and I think from there on, we gained each other's respect and kind of became fans of each other. And I mean, we're the same person, really. You really break it down, we're both just featherweights in the UFC chasing our dream, and so at the end of the fight, we showed our respect. I've messaged him a couple times. He's messaged me a couple times with nothing but positive things to say. So, and he even apologized afterwards for not making weight and thanked me for taking the fight regardless when I didn't have to. And so I really respect him and have a better spot in my heart for him because of that.
When are you looking to get back in there? I know this is a fresh win. You probably want to enjoy some time off. What's the latest with you?
Man, honestly, I could fight every weekend. I'd be happy, but they suspended me for 30 days just because the fight was fucking crazy. But I want to try to get at least, at the very least, if I'm healthy, I want to be able to fight bare minimum 3 times in a year. So like 3 or 4 times. So I would say, shoot, February, March, April, May. I would say like May or June would be nice to fight, but you just never know nowadays, especially with the UFC booking out so far that, like, who knows? First I gotta get past the suspension and just kind of enjoy myself, and that's usually what I do with these suspensions. If I'm suspended for 30 days, I'm just gonna enjoy myself. I'll still train, but it's gonna be more of like a relaxed training and just kind of staying in shape. And then once I get past that, then I can start looking into fights and fighters that I would like to fight against.
What is the plan the rest of the week? You mentioned, a little light training. Any plans? For this time off a bit, or you got anything scheduled? Because like I said, your girl was away for a bit, so I'm sure you guys are going to spend a lot of time together.
Yeah, for this week we're just hanging out. I have family in town, so
Oh, nice.
uh, yeah, they're in town until tomorrow, so they're gonna take off, and then uh, and then she's gonna go back. She's gonna be at work. My wife had Sunday and Monday off too, so yesterday and today just been kind of hanging out and enjoying this win, obviously. And but just for me, it's gonna be just trying to uh, not succumb to overeating and over drinking. That's one of the biggest things. But like I said, I got a 30-day suspension, so if there's any time to overeat and overdrink, it's right now, and just to really enjoy myself. So I think that's what's gonna happen the rest of the week. Just kind of hopping in and out of the gym and just show face, but really just kind of just sit back and really enjoy this moment for what it is.
Julian, thanks as always for the time, man. Always a pleasure. Just remind people where they can get a hold of you on social media, and if you got any sponsors or shout outs, I'll give you the last word.
Yeah, man. Thank you so much for having me on, James. I always appreciate it. Julian_Erosa on Instagram, probably the best way to get a hold of me. All my sponsorships and stuff will be on there as well. So if you want to look into that, reach out to me on Instagram is the best way to do it. But yeah, besides that, that's about it. I'm pretty good with responding back to people on Instagram.